Hello. Oops, turn the music down. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dwelling of Duels. I'm Catagen, and I'm here with Cory Johnson.
Hi,
over
y'all.
there. Oh, other way. I gotta point to my left. There he is. We're here. We're gonna hang out and chat. Thanks everybody for tuning in. It is 8 o'clock on the dot, and yeah, how you doing, Cory? Thanks for joining us.
Doing good. A little sleepy. It was stormy last night, so I'm running on like 4 hours of sleep.
Ooh, fun.
And it wasn't like even good sleep. It was like, melatonin kind of puts you to sleep, but it's like that bad groggy sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna be really awkward for the next hour. I hope y'all are ready for this.
Chill, everybody. Breathe, chill. So yeah, thanks so much everybody for joining us. We're going to be talking about arranging and stuff like that, and listen to some music and things. If you have any questions for Cory that you want to shout out, tag either at Dwelling of Duels in the chat or at Cory's Beard. One of us will see them, and we'll try to answer what we can do. So
Yep.
Cory Johnson, Dwelling of Duels. Your history with Dwelling of Duels is pretty good. You have a pretty good track record. Your track record is better than Viking Guitar, who we talked to last week.
Oh, don't start that! Don't start that drama.
You're better. No, so you've had 29 entries, 4 gold, 3 silver, 3 bronze. That's pretty dang good.
Well, it's 4 silver now. It's 4 gold, 4 silver. And
oh, you're right. Now. You're right. Yes, you did get second place. I guess it's 30 entries too. This is probably also out of date.
32 because I had 2 alts.
Oh my god!
And it's not even counting the track I did with the Nate Horsefall experience that also won 3rd place. So really, I got 4.
Secretly, you've got the triple quattro, I think is what they call that.
Yeah. Awesome. Eric made a funny point in track. His only gold in DoD was a track he was on with me.
A piggyback.
Which is because his production is a lot better than mine now, so that's kind of like wrong. but yeah, I feel very fortunate that people like my music that much to vote it that high, and that I've placed as many times as I have. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think your music definitely hits different, than a lot of other DoD stuff in a really cool way. You do a lot of really cool arrangement things, and you bring like this awesome post-rock sound with your music that I think people really enjoy. Sometimes it's even like emotional. I know you've done a couple awesome tracks that have had like really good sampling and things like that just kind of like people are like, man, this hits me right in the feels.
Yeah, so that hits me a lot of time when I listen to other bands do it. Like one of my favorite bands, Godspeed Black Emperor, relies heavily on that. That's what inspired me to put it into my music, and it'll hit positively sometimes when I do it, and then other times it's kind of a mess. Like a lot of people like my Death by Capitalism track, but that was a very it was a very inconsistent and it was a stretch using the quotes that I used, but it is what it is.
Right, it still worked out very well. That was the Iron Sword track, right?
Yeah, Iron Sword, Wizards and Warriors 2, and the source material for that was the shop theme / game over theme. So, I mentioned we're going to talk about this more later in the stream because
we can talk about it right now.
Okay, yeah, because I know Mike asked that question on Facebook, so I'll go ahead and kind of talk about sampling right now as it pertains to that Iron Sword track, because he asked about that one specifically. My thought on that was, hey, it's kind of funny how this track is game over music, but also like shop theme, and that was the Dwelling of Duels theme of the month, was any music from that's used in a shop in the game. So. So I was like, yeah, that's kind of funny. I bet like I could tie that somehow to how rampant unchecked capitalism is leading to the death of society and the planet. And in my head as I was planning it, I thought that I could make it work, but I couldn't really find the samples and tie them together in time. But I wound up leaving all that in anyway. So, if people like it, that's cool. But like. That example I didn't really like for myself. versus the Donkey Kong Country track I did a couple of years back. What was that one? It was Northern
Northern
Hemispheres.
Hemisphere or something.
Yeah, from Donkey Kong Country 1. And the theme of that month was snow theme. So I figured everyone was going to be doing like, icy chill tracks. And, when you think of stuff like that, you think of, high pitched, dry reverb isn't the term I want to use, but like icy reverb and just like,
yeah,
it sounds icy, sounds chill. So I wanted to
and twinkly bells and all
do
those
the
kind of
do
things.
the opposite of that and make it sound like everything's melting. So spring reverb, roomy drums. It sounds like it's being performed in a 105-degree factory. And that one was really easy to find samples for because you could just get all the news samples of talking heads talking about global temperature rise and stuff like that, politicians talking about it. And so I was going to search for some doom and gloom preacher, and I struck gold in that I found someone literally doing street preaching about Noah's Ark, and I'm like, oh shit, this is perfect. And put that in there. And I think that was one of my best use of sample commentary I've ever done in a track. And I did like a whole album on that with Earthbound. There was one that I was originally going to put samples in, but wound up not putting samples in. I did a track for Yoko Shimomura month from Super Mario RPG, the Weapon Get, which was the weapons factory from the end of the game.
Okay.
And I wanted to just like get a bunch of like Raytheon weapons manufacturer commercials and all that shit, like we're fighting for America, we're fighting for freedom, and then like splice that with CAD, like citizens getting bombed, which is really dark and fucked up. I'm glad I didn't do it.
I think it would have been really very interesting artistic choice if you had done it, because I like that track.
I have a version of it too. Like I can share that in the DoD Discord later. Like I had like a section where like I had all the presidents of the past 20 years talking about what country they were bombing, and I think the reason I didn't leave those samples in there was it was just such a nightmare to mix, and it made it sound like muddy and busy. So I just decided to keep it out there.
When you go looking for those specific samples to get, are you searching for? Are you just on YouTube finding just like interviews and things like that, or do you go to more weird locations to try to find those samples?
A little bit of both. The first, like, I'll look for the easy stuff first, where I just search for easy search terms in YouTube to see if I find something that jumps out at me immediately, and then I start looking like at movie quotes and stuff like that. So I'll type in like movie quotes about X topic, about capitalism, about climate change, or something like that, and see what type of hits I get on that. And if I find something interesting, I'll try to track down the movie, see if I can isolate the dialogue, which if you're dealing with surround sound, usually if you isolate the center channel, you can get dialogue by itself without sound effects or music or something like that.
That's a good tip.
I believe I did that on my Aquatic Ambience track for Mixtape 97 that I did back in 2014 for Big Mad Attacks. And I know y'all are asking a bunch of questions right now. I'm sorry. I promise I will scroll back up and anything that we didn't catch.
Here's one that I think was relevant to what we're talking about. Do you listen to any other music artists that are known for like social commentary stuff, like Neil Young? Question from Triple B Music in the chat.
Word. Yes, Godspeed You Black Emperor is and like I mentioned before, a pretty anarchist collective of music. Another band I like a lot. They don't primarily do this, but they have a couple of good albums that dropped a couple of years ago. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard had a lot to say about climate change with their back-to-back releases of Fishing for Fishies and Infest the Rat's Nest, which one is a kind of like a dancey, folky album, and the other's a thrash metal album. But yeah, I like stuff like that. I like instrumental music that uses samples for commentary, but I kind of tone out lyrics when I listen to music.
Same here. I listen to a lot of instrumental stuff and kind of tend to focus on those things instead of lyrics, but I think they could really still have an impact, that kind of stuff. So let's talk about, you tend to do longer tracks. There tends to be a bit of a assumption if there's any track that's like 13 minutes or longer, it's either by you or Prince of Darkness. Kind of seems to be the idea.
Yeah.
Or Shija, I guess.
Yeah, shout out to Shija as well. Yeah.
And so Shija was asking, how do you approach arranging these really, really long songs? Do you use sub projects? Do you have them all in one project?
Well, it's all in one project, and I really don't know. I think a lot of the ones that I've done are usually medleys or multi-source. I got the reputation for having long songs, but usually I'm not stretching out a 2-minute source to 20 minutes. I think the closest I've come to that was a track I did last year from the Celeste album, where the original source was 9 minutes and I stretched it out to 20 minutes. But yeah, it's all one session, and I usually just do basic instrumentation first, drums and bass, and I'll go section by section. And as I'm going, I'm kind of keeping in my head what I might want the guitars and keyboards and things to sound like. And usually, I don't do this every time. Actually, this is how I've done it like the past couple of times. But I don't have like a set approach of doing anything. But anyway, the past few times,
it's good to have an evolving workflow, right? If you're not changing your workflow, that means it's kind of stagnated, right? You want to always make it better.
Yeah, but usually I'll try to do things with drum fills or bass runs that ultimately inform what I do with guitar parts or keyboard parts I haven't written yet. And whether it be a call and response or a harmony or something like that. I wish I had like an exact example, but I can't brain it right now. But yeah, it's section by section, all in one session, and making things twice as long as they need to be. Fade ins, extended outros.
What do you do if you're working on a medley and you're trying to like sequence the tracks? Like, is there something specific you look for, like similar chord progressions or something when you're working, like trying to work one track into another?
Oh, okay. I think usually when I do stuff like that, I've heard those similarities beforehand, and that way it's not as difficult to force. That was something I did a lot on the Zelda album. There were shorter tracks, but I tried. There was a lot of songs where one motif was mixed with another one that wasn't usually common. Again, I can't brain like an exact example right now.
It's all good.
Maybe Zelda's Lullaby into Epona's song, and then trading a lot of those motifs back and forth. Even though those are 3, tracks on the album, it was recorded in one session. So maybe that's one. I can't, like I said, I can't think of examples off the top of my head, but I'll probably think of them after the fact, and I'll put them in the DoD Discord.
Medleys do tend to kind of like, if you're intending to do a medley, I think a lot of people end up listening to the entire OST for games at least once or twice through. Yeah. And I think it is certainly easiest to find, like, there's motifs and things that people put everywhere else, vibes that you can be like, oh, this will totally go into this other track just from listening to it, paying attention.
And I would, like the Zelda album, I wouldn't even really call them like medleys, because usually when I'm combining themes, it's usually 2 or 3 at a time, and they're structured as a standalone song, not like here's one idea, then here's another. So in that essence, I don't think I've done a lot of medleys unless you count maybe like Dancing Mad, which is originally structured like that
Sure,
in the
that's
source
true.
material.
That's true. So how did you get started with home recording and like being a bedroom producer?
Oh God, just that's how I learned to play guitar. Was when I was 14, I had like a Korg multi effects pedal, and I ran like the like the guitar jack out of it into a 8-inch adapter directly into the line input of my E-Machine sound card. So you can imagine how pristine that sounds, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. That alt that I submitted this month for Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past was exactly that. So I got it into home production as a means to learn and reinforce playing guitar, and then it kind of swapped. I got to a point where I played guitar well enough that I could record my music. So playing guitar was just a means of recording, which was cool, but also kind of hurt me from improving more because now I don't have incentive to practice as much when I could just learn a part quickly, punch it, and then
And then forget it. You don't have to
forget
worry
about
about
it.
it.
Yeah,
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 same.
which is most of my stuff. Like I don't think I could play you Dancing Mad right now, or well, maybe Dancing Mad because I put a lot into some of those parts. But any random DoD track from the past couple of years, I doubt I could just pick up my guitar and play right now.
Yeah, what was that?
Unless
That river fishing, king river fishing, or something?
Kawano Nushi Suri,
Yeah,
from Legend, which was your recommendation. You recommended that.
Legend of the River King. Yeah, that's right. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how that one won, but I'm glad it did.
Yeah. So how
So
what time period was this when you were like getting started with? Was it around the 2006 era, like when that track was?
actually, a little bit before, like I started doing that in 2000, late 2002, early 2003. And I had actually been doing stuff with drums and bass long before that 2006 track. That was just kind of like a sketch that I had, just fucking around. And since it fit the theme, I thought it'd be funny to put on there. But yeah, starting that.
I do really like how that the original version of it and the new version was really a link to the past.
Oh,
I
yeah,
really enjoyed
nice. I
that.
guess we should explain what we're talking about, since I know some people in here that don't, some of my friends in here that don't normally follow DoD. I put two tracks side by side this past month, where one was a sketch I recorded back in 2006, and another was me literally re-recording it last week. And the goal was just to show, like, hey, funny how you can improve over time. And that's the long story short of it. I feel like I'm getting off on a tangent though. I'm supposed to be talking about like home recording and stuff like that. So
It's all
I
good.
went to college for recording, like audio engineering, and I probably leveled up significantly from that. I'm not saying I'm good, but like if you listen to stuff I recorded back then and then stuff I recorded like in 2010 onward, it's like a night and day thing. So getting a formal education on it didn't really help for the job prospects, but for what I could do with my hobby, it was indispensable because it gave me structure and environment to. Because I doubt I would have actually sat down in my bedroom and been like, oh, this is how I apply a compressor. This is how I sweep EQ bands to find junk. This is,
Right.
how I program a synthesizer. So I had that. I had the structure of college to teach me that. And then I just applied it in my hobby, and that segued me into doing cover albums of video game music, which got people's attention. So
Yeah, so your first album that you did there was your Zelda album the first like big VGM thing that you had done?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I actually didn't record much VGM before college, even though I loved video game music, always have, and kind of always wanted to do the video game band thing. I was focusing on recording original music before college. So anything that I have that's video game related is just like little, things I did when I was bored, didn't have necessarily drums synced to it or stuff like that. Um, so Zelda was the first one I did, and I'm very, you know, happy of how successful it was and humbled because it was just one of those things where um, I didn't like really market it at all. Like it was literally I just posted it on like it was demos that I had. It wasn't even the full version. I posted demos of it on the 4chan music board, and I was like,
Nice.
I just wanting to get feedback. So I was like, hey, y'all, check this out. I did post rock, but with Zelda. What do y'all think? And people were, 4chan is a terrible place, and I don't really associate with it
Yeah.
anymore.
But at
But
the time, certainly, like the music board was a good spot to post
yeah,
things and get traffic.
And the safe for work boards were a little less controversial, a little less problematic, though there was definitely still that element there.
Yeah.
But even then, they could still be hostile. So when even like 4chan users are like, "Hey, this is pretty cool," I was like, "Holy shit, that's really cool!" And like a lot of people, I didn't have it set to download on Bandcamp, so like everyone in the thread was like strong arming me to make it downloadable. So I did, and like a couple hundred people downloaded it.
Wow.
And just from that one thread, like it got passed around. Eventually, people in the VGM community on the Shiz got wind of it, and and that's how I started meeting most of my friends in the community was through that. Like especially Jeffrey JMR, who believes in the chat right now. Nate Horsefall, Fox Dragon was also indispensable in that time period. Kyle, can't think of that. JCRB. Sorry, I botched the acronym at the end there, but like those were names that I feel were instrumental in spreading it around.
I'm posting the link to your site in the chat. CoryVGM.com is where people can go, and that link that will redirect you to his Bandcamp page where you can get a bunch of those old albums. Good stuff. So then from there, yeah, you mentioned Nate. You ended up working on Spectrum of Mana, doing like 4 or 5 songs on that album, which I love, and then Chronicles of Time, and Mixed Ape 97 and tribute
97.
album. Was it? What was it? You said 97
It's the
earlier.
year that no good video games existed
94.
in.
Okay. I thought it was 94, but then you said I have.
Did I say 97?
You said 97 earlier. I'm gonna go back and find. And I was like, oh no, I'm wrong.
Whoops.
I'm blaming you. Yeah, so many good tunes, and then you got into DoD relatively recently. I think your first entry was like 20. Technically, I think you were part of a martial art track in 2016, but I don't have anything. The earliest one I have of you by yourself is 2019.
Right. I want to go back and touch on those compilations in a little bit, but yeah, my first solo entry was 2019. It was the first time that I just by myself went and arranged, recorded, and mixed something. The track in 2016 I did with Martial Art. That was kind of I would say collaborative arrangement, but I think more of the arranging was done on Mikhail and Jeff's part, and I kind of added touches. Though I did the mix on that one. And the mix was rushed because my computer crashed. It was like a couple of days before MagFest. So I literally mixed that laying in bed with headphones and a laptop, which is not my normal mix setup. So that was the first tagged involvement that I had in DoD. But I was actually on, and this will get into the compilation. This will segue into it. I was and still am a part of an internet band called the Nate Horsefall Experience. And that was the first time. Yeah, that was the first time I was involved in a DoD track. It was on a Nate Horsefall, the only Nate Horsefall Experience track on DoD, and it won 3rd place. I did the clean rhythm guitars on that, which I think were any of the arpeggiated, sparkly guitars.
Okay, and this was back in November 2013, Blaster Master month. I didn't even realize that's when that was. That was one of my first months entering as well, so that's kind of funny.
Yeah. So yeah, there's when we talked about Nate Horsefall and all those compilations, and that's kind of how I got to know a lot of people in the video game remix community, was being involved in those compilations. And it was I'd already been chatting with Jeff because of the Zelda album. He hosted the listening party for it. And
Nice.
and that was a pretty wild thing too, because like that got covered on Destructoid, and like
Ooh.
and it was like, this is just like a dumb, not well mixed post rock album I posted on a image board one time, and
Right.
it's got that
It's
level of
blowing up.
attention.
That's awesome.
Yeah. um
That's always a great feeling when you do get that kind of notoriety or like press coverage from those kind of releases. It is a lot of fun.
yeah. So from that, like a lot of people were just like emailing me about wanting to do this, that, and the other. And one of the things that I responded to was Nate just emailed me on Nora and said, "Hey man, I really like your album. I'd be honored if you would jump on this album." And I'm like, "I've never played that game before." Sure, why not? And I wound up taking like 2 tracks, and then like people decided they couldn't do their song for whatever reason, so I picked up like 2 more. And yeah, I instead of albums, I feel like there was like a 5-year period where I was doing more of working on other people's compilations than working on my own albums. And I did that. I did a compilation for Chrono Trigger, also run by Nate, Chronicles of Time. Did a bunch of stuff with that one, including a 20-minute Lavos track. I did Big Man Attacks, Donkey Kong Country compilation, mixtape 94, not 97.
Mhm.
And like a bunch of Dance Macabre albums for Viking Guitar, including the one Viking Guitar didn't do with Big Matt. I was on that
Right.
one.
Right.
Did a couple of Patient. I think I did one Patient Corgi album, tribute album 64. I did a Materia album, Materia Collective for Undertale. I feel like I'm missing a couple, but
It sounds. I
uh,
mean, you certainly have a lot. You have a lot of tracks that you've been or albums you've been on and tracks you've made.
yeah, I did a
Um,
shit ton before I even like joined DoD. Like,
yeah, yeah. You've got some history. Question from Shija in the chat: Have you ever considered covering any Commodore 64 tracks?
I would need to know some Commodore 64 tracks first. Like, I don't, I'm not
Well,
cool
this
enough
is your
to.
reason to learn them or to
Well,
find them and go check them out.
you need to make a Commodore 64 month then.
Oh, Shija would love that if I did.
Yeah.
It's so niche. It would be more like that was kind of the reasoning behind like PC versus console month was like you could do Commodore 64 and be on Team PC here or ZX Spectrum or something like that.
Did anybody do a Commodore 64 track?
Hmm. I don't know actually. I don't think so. I don't think anybody did.
Well, be the change you want to see in the world,
Right,
or
exactly.
be the change Shuja wants to see in the world.
Shusha says he did. Oh, Great Gianna Sisters. That's right. That's right. That was good.
Okay. Okay, sorry, y'all. Like, I'm not familiar with like Commodore 64
What's wrong
tracks,
with you?
so
You're
like
supposed to.
I heard it and probably responded to it not knowing it was a Commodore 64 track. So
Awesome. Well, we have a couple shorter Corey Johnson tracks we're going to listen to right here. Corey, can you tell us which tracks these are?
which tracks did we choose again?
Aquatic Ambiance and Morning.
Okay, cool. Okay,
So now
so
you repeat that back. You tell me.
okay, we are going to play a track called "Morning Is Here" or just "Morning" from the Chrono Trigger soundtrack that I did for Chronicles of Time, and I chose that one because it's like the past year in DoD, I've been experimenting with different styles. I have not been doing outside of Dancing Mad. I haven't been doing post rock, but that's a pretty good example of straight down the middle third wave post rock style arrangement and performance. I hope and I don't know. It's a good vibes track. And then I chose Aquatic Ambience from Mixtape 94, the Donkey Kong Country compilation album, which is Aquatic Ambience. It was the first time I ever collaborated with Martial Arts and Jer Rock here in the chat, which was the first of many. Collaborated with Jer a lot in DoD, and I've been a live musician for martial art for the past few Magfests. So that's a pretty important track because it's the first time we worked together. And it's the longer original version. A lot of what we've been putting out lately has been like a condensed 5-minute version for live, because of live set constraints and stuff like that. So
Right.
This is a 7-minute track. It has extended use of movie samples, and I think some of my best sampling work is the 20-minute tracks, and we can't very well drop those in here. So that was the closest I can get to some of the shorter sampling stuff
those
that
are going to be
wasn't like featured in DVD.
The required home listening for people after this.
And also, I chose these songs because they weren't in Dwelling and Duels. So
that's true.
For people that have followed me primarily in Dwelling and Duels entries, may not have heard my music outside of it. I wanted to focus on those.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and check these out. We're going to listen to Morning by Cory Johnson. Keep it here, everybody. This is Dwelling and Duels.
old sailor once. He told me he went overboard, tangled in the sails. They pulled him out, but it took him 5 minutes to cough. He said it was like going home. Take a minute to consider your achievement. I once told you about a sailor who described drowning to me.
Yes, he said it was like going home.
I was lying. He said it was agony.
Welcome back, everybody. We just heard some beautiful Michael Caine voiceover there at the end of that, the beginning and end of that track.
Little Michael Caine
From the Prestige in there. That was a good little tip. That was Aquatic Ambiance by Cory Johnson featuring martial art and Jarok. I don't know how to pronounce the last name because, again, same situation. You said a different thing than I said.
Yeah,
before.
that's the thing about the internet. Like, you never get to really practice pronunciation of things.
Yeah, you just read it
with people. So
well,
I've botched many a name in this scene.
It's all good. But yeah,
by the way, thank you for graphic design as my passion style logo you gave me, because I don't like promote myself or have logos. So I really love the Comic Sans that we're rocking right now.
You're welcome. I spent many hours getting the shading right on it. So yeah, the ends had to be perfect on there.
Oh yeah, the best shirt.
the best shirt for the worst year.
Yeah.
Cory, you have a very nice beard. What do you do to help maintain it?
I don't do anything, actually. I just kind of let it do its own thing. I never trimmed it, never really shaved it. So I could probably grow up more than it is right now. But I just leave it alone because I don't like sharp things on my face.
True, makes sense.
That was actually a meme amongst my friend group in college, though ironically and I guess coincidentally, I don't know if that's true irony. I didn't really have much of a beard in college, but it was just I had like the little baby goatee or something like that, and my friends would always say that's the source of my hubris and my assholishness is my beard. So whenever I was right about something and obnoxious about it, they'd be like, "Oh, there goes Cory's beard again." So that's why my screen name is what it is. And you can see Huffy McBuffy in chat respond to that. She's one of said friends in college.
Nice. It's always good to have a source of your power, And I feel like that power has only grown as your beard has grown as well.
I think the more my beard has grown, the less I've been that person. Like, I was always someone that was kind of playing up being, like sarcastic and an asshole. So I wasn't really, but that was still problematic behavior. And I'd like to think I've chilled out over the years, but that's not my place to say. So we're getting into some,
you seem like a reasonable person from all the times that I've spent with you at MagFest and such like that. So yeah,
I hope so. Call me out if I'm not.
Cory, no, I'm kidding. Did you have some questions you pulled out of the chat that you wanted to talk about?
I did. And before I jump on this, was there any other thought trains you wanted to jump on before we answer questions?
I have one more question to kind of ask if you wanted to hit that, and then we can do Q&A.
So I feel like I haven't really talked much about arranging and not that I'm good at it, but mixing and that side of things. So
do you want to talk about your favorite reverbs and guitar pedals and sounds like that?
Yeah. So mainly everything I've used on my recording has been all in the box, way back from even the Zelda album. For the longest time, what I used was Waves GTR 3. Like that amp sim and the pedals that come in it, and they're serviceable. They're okay. I mean, I use impulse responses and different amp sims now that I think I get better results with. But it was basically what I had, so I worked with it, made it work with what I was doing. But the thing from that I love and I still use now, I don't know why, but I love the delay pedal on it, and I love the spring reverb on it. I will run my drums into that Waves GTR3 spring reverb. I don't give a shit. I love how it sounds.
Nice.
So I use that a lot, for my ambience. And I don't know why I've taken to that delay pedal, but maybe it's just because that's what I've had, so that's what I know and that's what I'm used to. But I'll use that. Though lately I've been using an isotope plugin. I think it's called DDLY, Digital Delay. It's got like this thrash control, which I think runs the feedback through overdrive or something like that, and I've used that a lot.
Fun.
And as far as reverbs go, outside of that spring reverb, I'll basically just use stock Ableton Live if I just need like a plate sound or something like that. Like I don't get too fancy with that. So I say that to prefacing that with the stuff that I do live, I use a pedal board. I don't use a computer at all. So, and I have all kinds of toys for that, which I wish I used more on my DoD stuff. Hey, look, conveniently I have pedals next to me.
Wow.
Like that wasn't planned at all. Oh, Shuja, I do have Valhalla delay, and I have used that sometimes, but it's kind of one of those things where I stick to what I know, so I haven't like busted out that much. This is like for my pedal board though. This is like my main delay unit. It's a Digitech Time Bender. Long discontinued. I had to find this used. It still had like all the tape on the back of it, but it's this beefy delay unit. It has emulation of tape delay, digital delay. This is the but also like it does really cool. I don't use it much, but I like to use it more. But it does really cool pitch delays where you can tell the pedal what key the song is in by holding down the bypass button and playing a chord, and it detects the chord. Like, okay, this is in G, and you can have it do like delay. You can make it do like the Rainbow Machine sound or something like that. I think Chase Bliss came out with the pedal Theremin, which was like a pitchy delay. This one was doing it like 10 years before that. Granted, it's a chunkier package. So,
the OG fancy delay. That's pretty awesome.
I'd like to get a simpler delay pedal. I really want to get an Earthquaker Devices Avalanche Run down the road. But I have another. It's kind of like a mix of a delay and a reverb. Sorry, y'all. Let me get my stuff together here.
Preparing the showcase.
Yeah, it is a Caroline pedal. The Meteor. So it's kind of like a delay, kind of like a Bucket Brigade reverb. And the reason I got this is because it has like this Havoc button, right? Yeah, I have original box if that's what you're talking about. It's got a Havoc button which sends it into a feedback loop. So instead of having like an expression pedal to get your feedback sounds, you could just hold down this button to do it. And I use both of these a lot with martial art on stage. As far as reverbs go, I didn't pull it out, but I have a I'm blanking on the manufacturer. It's like a major manufacturer. A Strymon Flint. I use that for my anytime I need spring reverb. That's the closest thing I could find to that Waves GTR sound that I like. It's got a really dwelly, plucky, drip sound to it.
Isn't it kind of crazy that like we are now at the point where we're chasing digital effects in Stompbox pedals?
Yeah, I mean it's not because I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get that vintage Waves plugin sound.
Yeah, it's just, right. It's just what you're familiar with.
Yeah, what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's long detour of reverb and delay sounds.
The true Cory Johnson, the source of his tone.
Lack
Spring
thereof.
reverb.
I guess.
So yeah, there was one question in here about collaborations that I think was really good that I'm trying to find.
Oh yeah, it was
From
Triple B Music. Are you more likely to approach other people for collaborations, or are you the one getting approached more? What do you like most about working with other people in music? Okay, so usually I do my own thing. Like I'm not like a very social person. I have social anxiety, so it takes a lot for me to get comfortable with working with other people, which is why a lot of my collaborations in DoD have been like in a group I'm already comfortable with. It's been, basically people, in the extended martial art community. We did a collaboration last month. You and me, Austin, and trying to think what other collaborations I've done with DoD. I think that's I feel bad if I'm missing something obvious. Obviously Nate Horsefall, and like when I did the compilations, like the Chrono Trigger album and stuff like that, those collaborative efforts were already set up in the structure of the Facebook group, so it was kind of like
right. It was usually easy forum to be able to do those things.
Yeah, usually like Nate or Omega Drive Glenn would introduce me to someone to collaborate with. So because of that, it's actually pretty hard for me to just cold and approach somebody to collaborate. And
are you open to collaboration? Are you the kind of person who would love to do it if somebody did approach you?
I am, if it's an idea that I'm inspired by, and because otherwise I'm it's kind of like it spawns anxiety and stuff like that.
Sure.
I'm trying to okay, and I haven't been getting approached much. A couple people have asked me the past few months, and especially when I was saying in the Discord I don't have any ideas, and like I really appreciate it, but if like I wasn't receptive to it, it wasn't like anything personal. It was just like I don't branch out much, and it's to a fault. I don't get outside of my comfort zone as much. With that said, I am trying to break that, and people may or may not have gotten a message from me this month that I may rescind because I may, without breaking anonymity, I got an idea that I may have gotten too hype about and maybe too hard to execute. So if you got a message from me and I go back on it in the next couple of days, I apologize. But what
if
I
got a message from Cory and he goes back on it, you go harder forward on it and be like, man, this is gonna be so good. Let's do it.
Don't hush your mouth. But what I like most about working with other people on music is it is a collaborative effort. And when you finish the mix, when you get it out there, and people react to it, especially if it gets the desired reaction, it's a lot more satisfying as a group effort than it is if it's just something you did on your own. I got that vibe a lot. In high school, in college I did like a lot of theater, like musical theater and stuff like that, and I didn't like acting. I didn't really even like theater and musicals as a genre, but I liked the experience of being part of a production, and I think that's why I got a lot of traction and mileage and enjoyment out of jumping on those compilation albums, is because I felt like I was part of a bigger production,
a big team thing.
And even though I have social anxiety, I feel like being a part of a bigger team kind of masks me a little bit, and I feel more comfortable in that environment.
When you did theater stuff, were you an actor, or were you part of like the tech crew?
Both.
Nice.
I did. I started in the tech crew, and then my asshole teachers were like, "You should act. You should
we need more people to do these roles for our show. So we're going to say you should act."
I was always a nervous wreck about it. I always, had the butterflies and hated right before I went up, and then it kind of blew by quickly. And like my favorite part was the aftermath, the high you get after accomplishing it.
And you go out and you do the bow to everybody in the audience,
Yeah.
and do the whole thing. Yeah.
So yeah, that's while I don't hate working with people. I don't the TLDR. I don't hate working with people, but I don't often do it. But when I do it, that's what I like about it the most. And
Nice.
I think,
Yeah, I mean, as someone who recently collaborated with Cory, right here, you did some guitar work on our on the Terraria track that I did with Bitterroost. Hit
I
you
did
up.
some,
You had guitar stuff for me in like 3 days or something.
it was something like that. I think I was I think you were late on the arrangement. Shame on you.
Yeah, that's on
And
me.
I'd been trying to collaborate with you for the longest, though.
I know.
I wanted to do it my first year of DoD, but like my first year of DoD, I was set on doing 12 straight entries of solo entries. I don't know why. I wanted to have like a nice, clean DoD page that wasn't separated by by Cory or featuring Cory. So
Right.
once I did that, I started doing a lot of collaborations, and I always wanted to do one with you because of our shared appreciation of Blizzard real-time strategy games. Because I wanted to do a track from that specifically, but you're holding on to it for a project of yours, which I'll leave you to disclose or not disclose.
Yeah,
So.
that's true. You're talking about the Warcraft track?
Yeah,
that's true. I think I've already talked about. I don't know. That album will be out someday. Who knows?
In fact, I think I've still tried to get you that year to collaborate on the track on that StarCraft track I did. I was like, what, screw it. This is, I'm working on a StarCraft track now, but I'll bite the bullet and I'll ruin my streak of solo entries and do them. But for whatever reason, it just we played collab tag a lot, and we didn't finally get the collab until this past month.
We gotta get another one that's like that was more like, oh, here's this entire song, put some guitars on it. We got to get a collab that's like me and you working, or if anybody wants to collab with Cory, sounds like he's open to it. But I certainly do want to have like a more in-depth collab with you as well.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. There was a few more questions.
Sure, yeah. I don't know if you're pressed for time. We're at the 1 hour mark, but I'm totally going to keep going.
I'm not pressed at time for all.
Cool.
Jair asks, Cory, can you create a song using the speeches from Street Fighter the movie? Yes. Okay. Valence asks, when you did Smiles and Tears, did you have the goal in mind to make people cry? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I wanted to do for a long time because it was absent from my Earthbound album, and that's just what was, I don't remember what my thought process was in doing that track, and then I just wanted to do a version of Smiles and Tears.
That was from 94 month, right?
Yeah, this month right here. Had no good games.
The one with no good games.
Yeah. Do I have anything to say about that track? That one I had a lot going on during that, so I was finishing up my commitment to myself to do 12 straight tracks that year for Dwelling on Duels. On top of that, we were preparing a martial arts set for Main Stage MagFest, so I had to learn all that stuff. And on top of that, in between November and December, I was working on a Brave Wave track for a cover album of Stimmage's Card of Darkness soundtrack. And it was just one of those things where, oh my God, I got a shitload of music on my plate. How am I going to pull all this off? And it somehow did. And, I remember, getting the idea to do like a 7-8 minute Smiles and Tears and stressing early in the month that, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to pull this off. I'm going to miss my 12th month. I'm going to I'm going to fail the goal I set for myself. And it came together. I took some time off, like vacation time at the end of the month to finish it up. I used the sample at the end of it. The Dilbert 3 sample, which was JMR's suggestion. I was like, oh my God, what smart ass thing can I put at the end where the girl usually says I miss you? And he immediately, like, he had it already made for another thing, so he had the MP3 ready. So he just immediately responds with oh yeah, I forgot to say I always loved you. It's just, I lost my shit. It was so perfect. Good. And that was another example of like post rock, tremolo guitar to the max, and just kind of like slowly add elements over, gradually until it reaches a climax or crescendo.
The slow build.
Yeah, that's impactful. Right. He put the sample together for the martial arts set that we were working on before the RoboCop closing.
Nice.
So yeah, smiles and tears brought the feels, and I'm glad it did. It was a trip, seeing people react to that in person at the DoD listening party. Like that was,
yeah, being able to see all those faces. Can't wait to do that again.
And Soja asked, had I heard of the Magar Posse, that post-rock band? I have not. Duly noted. I'll add them to the list of bands I'm supposed to check out.
You have to check them out.
I think I'm caught up on questions.
Okay. I've got one more main topic that we can talk about, and I asked the same question of Viking Guitar last week when we talked. What is your number one piece of advice that you would give to someone who enters DoD or has been thinking about entering DoD?
Just fucking do the thing. Just do it. Don't think about it. I think way too much about it. I both don't care and care about placement. I care about placement in the same way you care about getting first or second place in Mario Kart, I guess you could say. But if you're playing, if you're doing, you're already getting the benefits of A, the practice in playing, B, the practice in mixing and producing, and just being a part of the community and getting people's feedback that can help you with that. Positive or negative. That was one of the things that kind of scared me for a long time about doing Dwelling Duels, actually, because that was one of the when I first started talking with Nate, he was like, "Oh, by the way, you just did the Zelda album. You should enter Dwelling Duels sometime." I'm like looking at these songs and like looking, like a Snappleman first place entry. I'm like, no fucking way, I'll get crushed. Like,
yeah.
And I guess DoD always kind of had this reputation of being kind of merciless and mean. And it may have had that reputation in the past when I wasn't a part of it. Some people have told me that it's mellowed out a lot in the years, because my experience, it's been very constructive and chill, and a very great community to be a part of. Even when like a track's not hitting, it's usually something like, hey, I like what this guitar is doing, but like the cymbals, I would do something different with the cymbals or something like that, and yeah, even recently, you'll still get some people saying, "Man, I wouldn't do that. I would cut this frequency," and some people may not want that type of feedback, and that's fine. So my other advice would be, if you get that, you don't have to follow that feedback. You could take any piece of feedback with a grain of salt. You could be, you don't have to take it personally. Mm-hmm. And but with that said, people when you're giving your feedback, don't do it like that. Don't be like, man, that's the wrong way to do it. Don't I would that way of doing is trash. Don't do that either. Like
yeah, I think the constructive criticism is definitely the thing that has gotten better with it, like, and less aggressive criticism of things. The feedback is more constructive and able to, like, here's the thing that's wrong, here's how to fix it. Those are good kinds of feedbacks, and it certainly has changed a lot from how it used to be.
At the end of the day, if you're entering despite being despite the haters, you're winning. So
yeah.
So that's my advice. Do the thing. I'm sure there's more specific advice I can give, but I'm not like arrangement and production is more my strengths. Mixing and performing is not my strengths. So, and arranging and production is more art to science, whereas mixing is probably more science to art, even though there's still art in there.
That's true. So, I'd agree. I think your stuff still stands out pretty well, and is still some great tracks, even if you think your own skills are lacking. I think they're working out pretty good for you.
Everyone's going to be there. Also, everyone's going to be their own harshest critic too.
That's true. And yeah, like in the chat, she just says, "I hate my first entry I submitted." That's good, because that means you've grown a lot since you listened to the first entry.
Yeah, I haven't listened to a lot of Suja's early stuff, but man, like the stuff he's been putting out the past couple of years, despite controversy and length, are very solid. I love his drum production, which I believe he uses a lot of his own samples, and it's just it's that good 70s dry room prog sound, and I'm a big fan of it. Huffy McBuffy asks, any tease for music to come? Probably whatever the DoD theme is will be what I'm working on in any given month. I do have a bunch of ideas for albums. I want to do original material. I have demos of original material I've been sitting on for like 5 years. I have demos of a Mother 3 album I've been sitting on for years. Nice. I want to do a follow-up of Zelda music. It's kind of one of the reasons I'm focusing on DoD, is because without it, I have too many fucking ideas to focus.
You can't narrow one down.
Having one song a month based on a theme, it's chosen for me, kind of takes a lot of that choice paralysis out.
That's true. I should do that on my own so that I can finish my own WASD album. Just be like, make the next 12 things that I can put my own songs in.
Yeah. And for DoD, I have like a text file that has like idea, like if there's a free month or if there's something that admits
just endless lists of games and tracks.
Oh, I have more questions. I almost forgot all about these. I asked on Facebook and Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Do you have time for those?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so Tracy asked, what's the dream project, the one you've always wanted to do but haven't yet? And I think that ties into what I was just talking about. Probably an album of original material. And I really want to get that Mother 3 album done, and I really want to do another Zelda album down the road. She also asked, what video game do you like but has a horrible soundtrack? And I suppose I had enough time to think about this and come up with an answer, but I didn't think about it at all. So I don't have an answer off the top of my head.
It's tough because I feel like any game that you really like, you would come to like appreciate the music even if it was bad.
Yeah,
just from playing it so much.
God, what game can I think of that just like the music did not do anything for me on? And I can't think of it because like music
it's a hard question.
music is one of the things that makes me like a video game. Like it's a part of the package, it's a part of the experience.
Yeah.
So
If it had bad music, it wouldn't be your favorite, right?
yeah, like there was a JMR did an entry for DoD a few months back of it was like a song. I forgot what it's called. I think it was called Sonic Eraser.
Yeah, I
Where
remember that one.
yeah, it's like a Sonic Tetris style game, and it just has like notoriously horrendous music. It's like a YouTube comment said, it's the audio equivalent of sandpaper or steel wool. The audio equivalent of steel wool.
Nice.
JMR's version of it was cool. I like it, but you go back and listen to it, and it's just an FM synthesis is having a heart attack.
Yeah.
So I think. I don't know why I brought that up. I was just thinking of examples of bad video game music, but I haven't played it, and it's not a favorite game of mine. Maybe
it's a tough question. I can't even think of my own.
Half-Life 2. Not that it has bad music, but I don't
stick out.
I don't remember the music from it.
Yeah. You say that, but there's a couple tracks that I think I could put them on, and you would immediately be like, "Oh yes, I remember."
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So that's the only thing
that one. Yeah, I would agree with that. That music doesn't really stick out very well, but it works well as an atmosphere building.
Yeah. Tracy also asks, "What video game do you hate but has a great soundtrack, and why is it Marvel vs. Capcom 2?" And she knows me, so she knows that's what I was going to say. Because I'm notoriously shitty at Street Fighter style fighting games. So first time I played that, I just got destroyed by someone in the dorms, and it's like, man, this game is shit. Let's play Smash Brothers. It's easier.
Yeah,
but I love the soundtrack to it.
It is some good music. I've always wanted to do a cover of the character select theme, but make it be like 10 minutes long.
Yeah. Timothy asked, "What kind of non-game music are you thinking about doing?" But I think I answered that in that I want to do originals, and I'm already sitting on some demos. Which, by the way, Timothy is one of my friends from college. I have done hip hop production for him. He goes by the moniker Mossy Oak. So look that up on Spotify.
Nice.
I did all the production for it. We did a mixtape album where I sampled stuff from Gundam, Mobile Suit Gundam. I sampled stuff from Dragon Ball. I sampled stuff from a lot of anime heavy stuff. I sampled stuff from Monster, but we also did non-anime. Back then he was known as Ilvain. Sorry, but yeah, I did a lot of non-anime productions on that track too, where I sampled like Freddie Mercury on a track notoriously.
Nice.
So that's non-game music that I have done in the past. Shout out to that. And then the last one I got is from Mike. I think it's Evil Sonic. Is Evil Sonic's? Is that Mike? I'm sorry, man.
Yes. That is
okay, cool. And I think we touched on this before, but I didn't really get a chance to talk about it, how I did it on the Earthbound album. He asked, "I don't know what to call them for your commentary tracks, like Rocket is Dust, Capitalism, Polar Ice Caps. What's your process and timeline for selecting audio clips? Are they things you come across and save for a future project, or do you seek them out when you pick a project?" And I touched on this briefly, but I didn't really go into much detail. But I'm going to use my Earthbound album as an example of what I did. Like I'd had, for the Zelda album and the Earthbound album, as I was working on it, I had like a Word document where I had, before I even did the recordings, I had like notes of what I wanted to do for each song. And I had sample ideas for each song. Like I want to use Ultimate Warrior in this track for this reason, or I want to use this thing from No Country for Old Men, because it's a guy talking about his father who died, and that relates to Ness and his dad, and the theory that his dad is anyway. So in those instances, I had it heavily planned and went out and scoured for clips before I even started working on it. But for DoD, I usually would do the arrangement first, and I would drop things in because of the time constraint. I would drop things in that fit. And like Rocket is Dust was the Baba Is You track that I did with JMR last year, and that was Carl Sagan. Because for obvious reasons, Rocket is Dust is based off of the space levels from Baba Is You, and you know Carl Sagan dealing with cosmos, and he has this line, "We are all made of star stuff," and that was just an obvious thing to pair with Rocket is Dust.
All of his like quotes are just perfect backing sounds for, especially for your kind of tracks. He's just so
Yeah.
quotable, sampleable.
And I already touched on death by capitalism, and then we're all gonna fucking die by global warming. But that's that's how that was. The music, the arrangement came first, and I dropped the samples in after the fact in that case. But for the earlier albums I did, I had ideas for samples even before I arranged it. And did I catch all that? Yeah, no. I usually don't save samples for future projects. Like if it doesn't work for something that I thought of, I usually just kind of forget about it.
Yeah, bring it. Or you're not having like a big old archive of all these quotes to use.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch? This is kind of a side tangent, but you ever watch like YouTubers that make like all these essay videos, and they always have like the perfect clip from like a TV show or a movie or something?
Yeah.
How do you get all these things? Like that's the situation where I feel like they have to have just like an archive of every possible clip they could ever use.
Well, I think and it's how I come up with stuff. It's just kind of like as you're writing something or working on something, a synapse connects in your head, and
Right.
you just think of it. Like
You're like, yes, I have
like,
to
that
use
reminds
this
that
line
reminds me of that.
from the remake of Total Recall. Yeah, let's use this.
Yeah. I guess I hit all the questions, I believe. I guess now is the time to shout things out if anybody has any more questions.
Yeah, if anyone's got any more questions, in the meantime, Cory, tell people where they can find you. Go ahead and make your plugs and all that.
I'm very easy. I don't have a lot of social media. I don't promote myself. So just go to CoryVGM.com. That's my Bandcamp. That's my music. Not all of it, but some of it. The stuff that I thought well enough to put on Bandcamp at least. You can follow me on Twitter at Cory Johnson 256. If there's anything noteworthy, that I've done music wise or I'm going to do music wise, I will tweet about it there. But yeah, there's usually a backlog of music that I'm very bad about putting on YouTube and tweeting about on Twitter. So the best place right now to find new music from me is just keeping up with DoD. Go to dwellingtheduels.net. Is it .net? Because I have a bookmark. I never type it. dwellingtheduels.net. And on the website, you can go to the artists tab. You can type in my name, and you can see everything that I've done on DoD.
You're doing all the work for me.
Yeah, eventually I will get all that up on YouTube. I don't remember what my YouTube URL is at the moment. I'm opening up a browser right now. Give me just a second. I told you I'm bad at advertising myself.
You're all good. Cory VGM, Twitter at Cory Johnson 256.
What the hell is my? I thought I set up a custom URL, but I have like this hash mark for my.
They probably deleted your custom URL or something. Twitter or YouTube's good at those things.
Let me just try typing youtube.com. Is it Cory Johnson VGM? Yes, it is. YouTube.com/Cory Johnson VGM. I'm about a couple years behind putting stuff up on there, but stuff's up on there. And that's how you do finding Cory's music.
Finding Cory's music, the new hit film.
What's for dinner? Macaroni and cheese. Are you Demon Stray? No, but you should ask him if he's Cory Johnson. Yeah, I think we're caught up.
Fantastic. All right. Well, again, thanks, Cory, for hanging out. This has been a lot of fun to chat.
Oh, no. Thank you for having me and letting me shoot the shit about music.
Yeah, of course. This was a great time. If you out there watching this stream want to hang out and chat with us more, you can join our Discord server, the Dwelling of Duels Discord server. The link is there in the chat. If you just type !Discord, you'll get that. We're talking on there about music production, new songs, people posting awesome tunes, and just talking about whatever. We're having a lot of fun. Um, I'm on there. Corey's on there.
Oh yeah.
A bunch of people are on there all the time, having a good time. We're also, if you don't know what Dwelling of Duels is, I guess I should give the pitch to anybody who might have tuned in. It's a video game remix competition. You record covers of video game music, send them in. Right now, our theme, we're actually doing a collab with vgleadsheets.com. Shout out to Jer in the chat. And that's our theme for this month, is any song that's viable, that has a lead sheet on their site. You can cover it and send it on in. Deadline for that is the end of the month. Check out our sites for more info. We're also on Patreon, but I'm not gonna bore you guys with all that.
Get them Patreon bucks. Come on.
Get them Patreon bucks. Yeah, you can get special patron-only chat on our Discord, and also sneak peek of the next month's theme a few days early.
That's indispensable. Like that's I get a couple extra
you're
days.
A patron, that's right.
Yeah, I get a couple extra days to think about what I'm gonna do. All the money goes to fund the artists that provide the banner art, and that's literally the reason they started it. It's just so they didn't have to ask artists to do things for free or get things, pay for things out of their pocket. So it's literally just it's funding the banner art just so each competition can have unique art.
And the artwork has been phenomenal since we started doing it. It's been so amazing that we can get like really talented artists. The one who did this month's art was Travis Bolek. Goes by Guy in Rubber Suit. Did a fantastic piece with like Alucard and his orchestra, like doing like a big band lead sheet thing. It's fantastic. So real beautiful. Hit us up there. And so we've been doing more streams recently, trying to get Twitch affiliate. So last week on Thursday, we interviewed Viking Guitar. On Saturday, we had the listening party. Today, we're here with Cory. This Saturday, it's going to be announced right here. Cory doesn't even know what this is. Saturday, we are doing a stream at the suggestion of Valence, who's in the chat. We're doing a stream where myself, John Stacy, and Angry Polar Bear are going to be breaking down how to use and read a lead sheet and how to use that in your arrangement for this month.
That's good. That's theme appropriate.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be happening this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, same time we started tonight. So go ahead and tune in on that, and we will, give you a little rundown on how to do those kind of things. And can I do outro music here? Let's see if this works.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun, and we're gonna do more of these for the rest of the month. So keep them on. Keep it here, everybody. This is Dwelling of Duels.
Duels.
Night, everybody.
Right.